being poor has a lot of different definitions, but the one I like to use is the inability to control our free time, because that's what being poor really means. The inability to take time off, the inability to quit a job because we have to stay because we don't have enough money, the inability to control our financial future and our destiny, the inability to control that time that we want to spend doing fun things, doing dope shit, doing the things that we want to do in the future. That's the way I perceive poverty. Because our time is everything to us. Our time is what we get to spend with our family, how we get to make a family, how we get to build a future. So what's keeping us from having that time with our family? What's keeping us poor? Well, the forces of poverty are so great, so massive, so gargantuan, that it would take a whole book to explain them all. But I'd like to start with 3 easy ones. I want to talk about what we control. We control our debt. To a certain extent, we control our income. And we control our investments. Now, the number one thing I want to talk about is debt. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is the debt portion. This affects a lot of Americans, Now, the number one thing I want to address is the debt portion. This affects a ton of Americans, way too many at this point, and I'd really like to dive into why. Now, number one, student loans. It's a huge, huge burden that we've placed upon ourselves. These student loans are eating away at the financial future of the young people in America. And while some may be good investments, it turns out when you look at the data, some might not be. A lot of these degrees that we're prescribing to young people as just kind of a one-size-fits-all solution to our poverty and our need, it just fails. It just fails. The math doesn't math, all right? When you look at the numbers, you can see that the average tuition in the US has risen and risen and risen and risen, nowhere near in line with median inflation, wage inflation. So what does this mean? Our wages are going up year on year. That's for sure. It's just those wages don't pay for as much, including as much when it comes to school, when it comes to tuition. So we're forced to take out these student loans. We're forced to go into debt in order to secure a better financial future. And some of these loans, some of these investments in ourselves don't pay off. And that's when it becomes bad debt. That's when it becomes an issue. Now, there are more. Now, student loans aren't the only thing. Now, student loans aren't the only loan that's ruining. Now, student loans aren't the only bad investment that some people, not all, again, there are good investments in ourselves and in our future. If you're studying to become a doctor and you look at the numbers and you'll be able to make back what you need to make, that's okay. If you're looking to become a lawyer, but there are certain professions that we're going to school for where we are not making nearly, even in the top echelons, not nearly enough to justify the investment that we've put into school. But all that aside, debt in general, consumer debt, credit card debt, even mortgages, even mortgages and car debt in some people's perspectives can be bad debt if it's not helping us, if it's not building wealth for us in the future. And with the way that a lot of Americans have to sell their homes, in the end, when they hit the end of life and they need to pay for really expensive nursing homes and healthcare, some of these investments don't pay off. So what I'd like to do is talk about what good investments can be. And it's really tough because you need to know what to look out for. But with any luck, maybe we can figure out how we won't stay poor forever. I have stories of friends and family and people that I know who have gotten themselves into really bad debt and don't make the correct investment and don't find their way to financial freedom. And a lot of them are younger. They have time to fix what they need to fix. But it's becoming more and more acceptable to have your finances not figured out until you're in your 30s, in your 40s, until you're at this place where, wow, where has the time gone? You're at this place where you need to start thinking about saving for retirement, but you don't even have enough to really live the life you want to live in the moment. And people my age and below, I'm 27, underestimate the importance of a retirement. But when you come to that point, if you don't have enough retirement savings, you are either going to have to sell all your assets and people underestimate the importance of retirement. But if you reach the point where you have to go into a retirement home or spend money on healthcare, very expensive healthcare, as an older person, as an older citizen, you'll notice that that generational wealth that you may have worked to build starts to disappear slowly. The inheritance that you hope to leave to your children starts to dissipate. And I think that's the last thing that people who are family-centric especially want for themselves. And don't even get me started on those who haven't saved for retirement at all, acquire no assets, and then have no one left to care for them and have no one left to give it to. Now, personally, I'm a big on legacy, so I'm saving. I'm saving for retirement. I'm saving for my kids because I want them to have a bright future. But futures for people like me are becoming more and more bleak. And it goes back to the debt. It goes back to the income. It goes back to the bad investments we may make. So what can we do? Well, generationally, I'd like to hone in on the student debt and the way we're taught that taking out debt is this prescription. It's the norm rather than the exception. For example, in the 1960s, the average university tuition was around $4,300 a year, which a 12-week minimum wage job could easily pay for. That was only 9% of the average family's income, the average household income that you'd put towards tuition. While today, that number has skyrocketed to 25%. Oh, scratch that. That was 5 years ago. 50% of the average American's income, average household income. With that in mind, it's easy to see why taking out loans to pay for a degree that promises better jobs with higher incomes seems to make sense. But high school students are often being misled, where prescribed college in all cases as like a one-size-fits-all option just doesn't make sense. Not anymore, at least. Many degrees that young people are pursuing may not lead to that promised higher income. Liberal arts degrees in general can have a lot of, while important, very important, liberal arts degrees are very important, but they may not lead to that higher income. And even some science degrees are in oversaturated markets that will not bring you to where you want to be. And that's the situation for a lot of Americans right now. They have these degrees, they have spent that money, put it into debt. And while I do want to help them, so please subscribe and like the video and do what you need to do so that you can see the next videos on how to help the people who have already done that. While I do want to help those people, it's really important that we start addressing the root cause. We start talking to our youth about what jobs can actually, without a degree, make a considerable amount of money. And we start talking to our youth and telling them, hey, there are alternatives. You can work and save and make that fixed income, which is not good, which keeps us poor. Make that fixed income into an investment. Turn it into something where we take that income while you have the time to live at home, while you have time to take risks, and you can either take that and use that to cash flow school, or instead of right out of high school, 18, bare newborn babe, going straight into taking hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt for a degree that they're not quite sure they want, or something they're not quite sure they want to go into. Maybe we take time and we work a job and we think about how to cash flow college, or whether or not we even want to go to college at all. Maybe you want to open a business. Maybe you want to find a trade. Maybe you want to apprentice somewhere. Maybe you want to take a certificate program or find a less strenuous way of learning a marketable skill. All this to say, college is not always the solution, and student debt may be keeping you poor. The second thing that keeps us poor, simply low wages. The majority of working Americans, well, they work for a wage. They work for a boss, an employer who pays them a salary or pays them an hourly wage that they live off of and that they spend off of and that they invest off of. Now, these wages have historically in the US almost never been lower compared to the cost of goods. Purchasing power on these wages, while the wages are actually going up, the purchasing power is going way, way down. A dollar now obviously is not what a dollar was 50 years ago, and $20 now may not be what a dollar was 100 years ago. And some of it's normal. Inflation is a normal process that happens in an established economy. But some of it's just not adding up, because inflation is supposed to apply to the whole of the economy. Someone pays you a wage, you use that money to spend. And so your wage becomes your spending, which becomes another person's wage. There's a really great video by Ray Dalio that I'd highly recommend you look into that explains the concept. But basically, that's how it's supposed to work. But we have these leeches on society, and it's tough because they're just trying to, look out for themselves like everyone is. Look out for themselves and their family. But regardless of what it is a leech. We have these leeches on society where you make a wage and you turn that into your spending money, and that becomes another person's wage, a much, much lower wage. And you ask where that money went. Well, these millionaires, trillionaires, and corporate entities suck it out and keep it over here a little bit for themselves. And that's also a normal process. When you've started a company, maybe you want to start taking profit and holding it and keeping it for yourself because you have earned that. You have built that for your family. But it can get to a point where we are really, really shrinking the wages of the average and the median American to a point where they can't afford things like college or tuition, to the point where they can't afford things like college tuition, to the point where they can't afford things like college tuition, like investing in themselves, like paying for their kids' college or their kids' schooling, or invest in the things that they care about. Some can't even afford food. Some can't afford rent. And rent is another thing that has risen. The cost of goods, the cost of rent, the cost of tuition, all of these things have skyrocketed in conjunction to the average wage. Now, I had some numbers on this, but this video is getting way out of hand. And I really, really just want to stress to people that we are in dire straits. You are in dire straits. I really want to stress to people that we are in dire straits. You are in dire straits. And as we have these societal forces working against us, we need to be smarter about our money. We need to be smarter about our investments, because no one else is going to look after us. Daddy Biden may not be canceling our student loans. Andrew Yang may not be paying us a UBI. And while there does need to be societal governmental change in order to address some of these fundamental issues, and there are debates about how to do that on the right wing and the left wing side, what matters most is that we individually start taking responsibility, start realizing no one's going to come to save us, and we say, hey, I am not going to stay poor forever. I am going to save money. I'm going to make smart investments in myself, in my career, in my education. I'm going to urge my kids to make smart investments in themselves, in their career, in their education. I'm going to make a change that benefits me and my family and society as a whole. And it's hard because, number 3, investment. The third thing that keeps us poor is lack of, and it's hard because the third thing that keeps us poor is a sincere lack of quality investments. And I'm not just talking stocks, where there may or may not be an ETF bubble going on. And I'm not just talking housing, where we may be in a housing bubble caused by corporate interests and retirement homes and various different factors, including boomers who don't want to sell, who have a locked-in low interest rate, and those who want to purchase their second homes, well-off Americans who may want to invest in property and start becoming landlords because it is an efficient way to extract money from people and an efficient way to earn money. It's a give and take. I'm not saying landlords are evil, but I am saying that these investments, stock market, not just these investments, the stock market, housing, what have you, not just these are bubbles, but the investments that we make in ourselves, the investments that we make in our education, the investments that we make in something as simple as a camera or a guitar or a household item, these items are rising in cost, and the payoff is getting lower and lower in comparison to that cost. So we need to be smarter. There are opportunities out there. We just need to look. I mentioned cameras. Photography can be a great career, something that can be low cost to get into. If you are really scrounging, looking at the right parts, looking at a good budget, you have to put in the effort for most of these. But there are some good careers out there. Another one are some cybersecurity certificates you can take that may be able to land you a job in the field. Certificates, because of the cost of tuition, are going to be, I predict, more and more accepted throughout different industries. Because what really matters to these employers, certificates in general, I believe, are going to be more and more accepted across different industries, because what employers really care about is your output, your productivity, things that you're capable of doing. And if certificates, which are much, much cheaper than school, can provide a healthy, easy alternative to what you normally... Certificates, speaking of investment in ourselves, certificates are... Speaking of investing in ourselves, certificates are... Speaking of investing in ourselves and these certificates and courses, I believe that certificates and non-tuition, non-college, non-four-year degree education is going to become more and more substantial and more accepted in different industries, because there's less access, because there's less reason to go to a four-year college, when what we need in these different companies and these different industries are results. What companies are looking for is someone who can get done what needs to get done, not necessarily those who have the four-year degree. And a lot of what I'm saying here is conjecture, but just watch. If you're able to do what a person needs done and they're willing to pay for that, that is something that you may see more and more of in the future, because who cares about your degree? We care about what you can do. Companies care about what you can do for them. But we'll see when it comes to that. What I'm trying to say is there are lower cost alternatives to investing in yourselves through a four-year degree. There are lower cost alternatives to going to school for a degree that you may not even know what you want to go for. And even if you can't avoid and even if you do want to go to a four-year college, there are reasons to delay that decision and think and try your hand at trades and think about what you want and save up some money and truly invest in yourself instead of putting yourself in debt. Debt, in a lot of cases, is modern day financial slavery. Debt, in a lot of cases, eats away at us and doesn't build us up. And there are cases where it can be good, like I've talked about. Doctors, lawyers, people who go into high-income professions where the income is worth what you have to do to get there. It's worth the debt because you can pay it off. It's a smart financial decision. There are those instances, but they are rarer and rarer. And unless trends change, this is going to become a bigger and bigger issue over the years. And I want to warn people, and I want to get people thinking about, hey, how can we invest in ourselves and in each other? How can we invest? I want to get people thinking, how can we invest in ourselves, in each other, in the people around us that we care about? How can we make smart decisions for our financial future? And how do we do this without being sheep and following the path that is prescribed to us? Our parents don't know everything, as sad as it is to say that, because we may worship the ground that they walk on, we may hold them to a higher esteem because they have been through life, but they have been through life at a deeply different time. Like I talked about, the 1960s was a time when tuition was 25% of the annual household salary of Americans. This is way different. Oh, not even 20%. What was it? 9%. And now it's 50%. Do you understand? The things that our parents had to do are not the same things we have to do right now. What they lived through is not the same as what we are living through. And there may be older people out there who try and gaslight you and say, hey, I've gone through all of the same things you have. I've lived where you're living. I've been in your shoes. But you have to remain steadfast and say, no, today is not the same as a 1960s day. Today's financial climate is not the same as a 1960s financial climate. There are things we have to do differently, or else we are going to end up poor forever. Thanks for coming to what is essentially a TED Talk here. Again, I'm JP. I'm just an average guy, a bartender, someone who's trying to invest in myself, invest in my future, someone who's trying to start a few businesses. We'll see if they fail or not, but what's more important than that, whether or not they fail, is whether or not I've given myself the best shot at a good financial future. I'm about to graduate with a bachelor's in biology, and perhaps there's a job I can find through that. Perhaps there's a future I can find for myself. But what I've decided is that before I go and I look for that future, the one that's been prescribed for me, the one that's good for me, and one where I may be happy enough, I'm first going to give myself a shot, let myself take a shot at a financial future where I can be my own boss, where I can build my own destiny. And that may not be for everyone, but I think it might be for me. And if it's not for you, well, again, I just want you to be smart about the investments you make in yourself. Let's not stay poor forever. Please. Now let me go into like a YouTuber mode. Please, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe. Hit that bell and... Hey, if you've enjoyed this video, please feel free to like and subscribe. Hit that bell, turn on notifications, and you'll see more and more financial advice that I may have for you. I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. This is not personal financial advice. These are observations that I'm making about the economic and financial state of the US, and these are observations that I would like you to take into consideration. Or you may want to take into consideration when you look at your own financial future. When you start planning and start budgeting, which you should be doing. If you haven't started, this is a good reminder. Budget. Make a budget. Stick to it. You need to start thinking about your financial future. And I keep saying this. This is not a like and subscribe. Hey, if you've enjoyed these videos and you want to learn more about financial awareness, more about finding a financial zen, more about how to invest in yourself, please like and subscribe, share this video, comment, leave a comment telling me what you think I should cover next. Leave a comment telling me what your opinion is. Maybe you think I'm daft. Maybe you think that, oh, no, college is for absolutely everyone. And it makes sense that we are having these people with degrees who are unable to find jobs and are in lower income or minimum wage jobs. I'm getting a little salty. I don't know why. I'm like adverse to you. I don't even know who you are, but over the internet I'm coming at you for some reason. Please leave a comment telling me what you liked, what you think could be improved, what you want to see in the next video. Let's have a conversation. Join my Discord maybe, and let's talk about, how we can help each other, how we can rise up. I am going to start offering personal financial coaching soon. I want to keep people on track. I want to keep people motivated. I want to get motivated. And I want to create a community that motivates and empowers each other. So please join the Discord. Follow me here on YouTube, TikTok, wherever I may end up posting and continuing to talk about issues like this. I really want to thank you all for watching. This is my first major video. This is the one I think that I am going to launch with. This is the one that I think is going to call attention to some of this financial stupidity that we have found ourselves in, this tough financial situation that a lot of us have been trapped in. I want to call attention to it, and I want to find what's better for us. Like, subscribe, comment. Like, subscribe, comment. Like, subscribe, comment. I'm a robot. I need you to like, subscribe, comment if you enjoyed the video, because I need people to hear this message. I'm JP, signing off, and I just want to say, stay wealthy.